Okay, so I don't really have any. I don't have money, so this is what I'm doing for Christmas. Okay, for my baby's dad's mom, paternal grandma, and my mom, I guess I'm making a drawing of the baby, and I'm just gonna frame it. And I guess that's what you do when you don't have any money. Okay, so this is the first one I did. I'm not sure which to give to which yet. I'm like, oh, should I give this to my mom? Should I give it to Dorian's mom? I'm not sure. Here's some other photos. I figured the next one I should do is this one. Oh, and I just threw it on the floor, but I got another one. Okay, so you might consider this cheating, right? But I don't know. I'm gonna do it. I did it with my self-portrait, but my baby's dad got me this lamp. And would you believe, look at this. This is so crazy. I'm going to take this photo, just the bare edges of it. All right, putting it on this, like, lamp, I guess, right? Okay. I'm going to explain pencils in a second. And look! Oh my God, it's a light box. You couldn't have bought a better light box. So that's an amazing light box, right? You don't, I wouldn't say, I mean, I don't know, maybe you could call it cheating. I would say, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to trace the outside of it. And then when I do like all the shading, or I guess you could say value, when I do all these little details, I'm not going to have it on here. I'm just going to get the basic outline. And then from there, I'll do all the shading and explain all that. Okay, so one thing about the pencils, right? Okay, so this is just a basic pencil that you'll get like when you're in school, right? It's 2HB, most common one. And what is this? Okay, so it's 6B, 2B, 5B, B, 4B, and 3B. So the higher up it goes, the darker it gets. Like 6B is going to be like almost black, and B is like probably a lot softer. 2B is kind of soft, it's not going to be super dark, super heavy. I will say I don't know why they do this, but like when they sell the H pencils are very, very harsh. If I were to try to draw this with H pencils, I would just get grooves all in his face, and it would be, and then when you try to erase it, you can't erase it. So I don't know, I wouldn't recommend H's. I'm not really sure what the H's are for, other than I think that H pencils are supposed to be because you need to get some really deep grooves in your paper. So yeah, general rule of thumb, the lower the number, like a 2B is going to be more softer. And then the higher it gets, 5B is going to be darker, 6B is going to be very dark. Okay. So it is good to tape it up there so it's not all moving. I'm not going to get every single detail. I'm just going to get the basic eye shape. Like his pupil, and you see that shading right there. I'm going to wait when I'm not doing this, and I'm going to get all this shading in. I'm not going to try to do shading right now, His eyebrow, okay, just draw a basic line. I know where the eyebrow is, but later on I'm going to go in and actually draw his eyebrows in, just basic lines for the eyebrows, basic lines for his eyes. Just I can get the shape down, and you can do the shading on your own, His nose. I seem to always have problems with people's noses. I don't know, Okay, so right here you see it's a little bit lighter. I'm going to circle it. Probably what's going to happen is I'm going to cover his face with value. I'm going to like make it do all the shading. And then I'm probably going to go in and just erase right there on his nose, erase right there, I've never actually done this with another person before, only my own self-portrait. I'm always like, oh, this is too much work. I don't want to do this for somebody else. But yet I'm not even doing these drawings for me. I'm doing them for, like, you know, my mom and my baby's dad's mom. So again, I'm going to get the basic outline here, but you don't want to get into like a bunch of like detail. Later on, when you take this off the picture and you're just looking at the picture and comparing it, then okay, you can get in there and do, you know, all these, really get his hair good. And right now I'm just trying to get the basic outline of his hair, you know. I know this is going to be like a little, that's going to be a shaded part, but a shadow. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to do that shadow right now. I'm going to concentrate on that shadow when I don't have this on my homemade light box. Would you believe the luck on that? My baby's dad just randomly bought this lamp and it made the perfect light box. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can see it good. Okay, so it kind of looks like a paint by number, right? You know, so when I take this off, then I just look at the picture. I just compare it to the picture. And then, you know, I put in all the shading. And this picture is not going to be underneath of this anymore. I'm just going to, you know, going to take this and compare it like this, you know. So now I'm going to go in with some value. I've got a B right now. I don't want to start off with a super, super dark one. But see, like right here, I just drew the shape of the shadow. So obviously you can tell the light is hitting him here, right? Because there's not really a shadow here, but there's one here. So here's the thing. I should have like a blending tortilla or a blending stump. I don't know what's the difference between calling blending tortilla or blending stump, but I don't have one. But if you, some people will say, oh, you get the cheap stuff or makeshift stuff. It's just as good as the name brand or whatever. I think a blending tortilla is actually better because it's kind of pointy. So you can get in like little corners and you can, you know, but you know, whatever. You have what you have and you don't have what you don't have. So this is his nose. Under the nose, okay, this is 2B. I could probably go really dark. I could go like 5B because the shadow up under your nose is very dark. It's almost black, you know. You like the light doesn't hit up your nose, you know. So where's the 5B? Trying to look for it. Okay, 5B. Here I could probably go kind of dark because it is the nostrils. And then push the graphite around. Now his eyes, I mean, my kid has dark brown eyes, so for me, I wouldn't, 5B, maybe even a 6B is okay for his eyes, you know, I'm going to go 5B. But, you know, so the iris around it is very dark. And then he had these little, I don't know. And the thing is, though, most of us, well, all of us, like we have the iris, right? And then we actually have these like little lines going around. So sometimes what's really great is not what you're drawing, but actually what you're erasing. Like, can I find the pencil? Okay, so if you look at his eyes, there's little light flecks, right? The light is like hitting his eyes. This is kind of like how he really looks like a person. Yeah, it's starting to kind of really look like an eyeball. And so, here, maybe I should go, yeah, B, okay. I'm going to the lighter one again. So here's a little, like, dark corner, kind of. And what you don't really pay attention to, but is a real thing, is that we have our eye, but the eyelid makes a little shadow underneath, right here. I don't want to put too much because it's going to start looking like he's wearing makeup, right? So I want to use the pencil with the finest tip to try to draw some like eyelashes because I need 3B that. I want to draw some. I mean, eyelashes are the finest thing because it's like little hairs, you know. Everybody says, oh, your son has the most beautiful long eyelashes. So if I wanted to exaggerate it, maybe I could a little bit. There's a little, you can see right underneath of his eye, there's a little line right there, you know. So I guess I didn't draw that while I was tracing it, but I want to do it now. Okay. And then you can see there's a little, the little line right above his eye. There's kind of some more shadow in there. I just drew a line, but I didn't put any shadowing, you know. So I'm going to draw a few. Now, again, if I had H pencils, this would be making the most terrible grooves in the paper. And it would be like, I don't know. Like previously I said you can't erase it. You can erase it, but you're still going to see the groove, you know. So now his eyebrows actually aren't that dark, I don't think, you know. Before, when I showed you guys drawing before, I think I showed you the little scale, you know. You can make like a little scale of, like, this is like B, this square is B. And then this square is like 2B, 3B, 4B, you know, 5B, 6B. And then 6B is like almost pure black, you know. And then you cut a little hole, where really you take a hole puncher and you put a little hole. And then that scale's really good. Much better if this was a black and white picture. You could take that scale and you could literally put it on his skin and you could say, all right, I think my son's a 3, a 4, you know. Because everybody, I mean, basically, they'll just like, sometimes they'll be way too literal. Like, they'll think, oh, if I'm white, I'll just leave the paper white. And it's like, yeah, but nobody's actually white, you know. When you have the little scale with the little hole punches in it and then you put it on the picture, you can get a much more accurate, unbiased, you know, it's like, look, I really do look like I'm a 3. You remember this part right here? I was drawing this one, right? Okay, and now I made my scale. From as dark as it can get to as light as it can get. This is really, really good for when you're drawing and you're doing your shading or value. Remember I tell you value. Value is just shading. It's the highfalutin, like artsy word to make it sound like you know the sound. So anyways, okay, so I use darkest to lightest, right? I mean, this I just use the stump, and then this one I use like 6B pencil, you know. And then I use a hole puncher and punch a hole in it, so that way when I'm trying to draw something, when I'm trying to do the shading, I can put this like this over the photo and see how dark it is, you know. Because a lot of times when you're drawing it, you don't really see the object for what it is. You don't see how dark it is or how light it is, you know. This is kind of funny when people draw themselves and they color in their skin. Sometimes they take it too literal, and like a black person will really draw their skin black, or a white person will really leave their skin white, and it's like they're taking it too literal, you know. Even when I drew my self-portrait, I was a lot paler on the mainland. But like I thought, oh, I'm pale, so I only need to be a 1, you know. And then when I really made this and I took a black and white photo of myself, actually I'm a 2 or a 3. So, you know, this will help you. You look at the photo and you can put this over it and see how dark or how light it is, and then you see how dark you need to make your drawing. Helps a lot. So I kind of want to use a 6B on his eyebrows, but I'm thinking maybe his eyebrows are more of a 5B. Yeah. And what's interesting, when you do these portraits, you just start really paying crazy attention to to the person's face. Like, you see that right there. I drew his eyebrows way too thick. My kid has kind of a little bit more thinner eyebrows than that, obviously, you know. See, in a case like this, it's a little bit better if you go lighter, because then if you have to erase it, it'll be a little bit easier to take it off. Okay, those eyebrows look a little more realistic for him, right? He kind of has sort of thin eyebrows, so. Now, it's interesting. You really have to, like, look and study. We all have this, like, little fatty part right here in our eye, and the light sort of hits that. And so that's a little bit lighter. And then it gets a little bit darker here and a little bit darker here. That's the shadows, you know. So what I should do, this is all one. I should go back in with the eraser, and I should try to erase a little bit of this fatty part here to make it, you know, just look realistic. It's like the light is literally hitting his face here. This is what happens to all of us, kind of. And so, okay, yeah. So you think that the white part of your eyes are literally white, but they're really not. So we should go in here and push the graphite around a little bit, you know. I mean, maybe it is, but the shadow is going to make it look like it's, you know. Okay. A little bit darker. Okay, so I did the other eye, because, you know, short on time. Okay, this is a B, so I'm going to start doing the nose. You can see this is a little bit darker, but that's because the shadow is in there. So wherever the shadow is, you're just going to go darker, obviously. And then, you know, the nose, I always have a difficult time with the nose, you know. But hey, I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to try. So... So the light hits here, this middle part. So what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to go darker on the outside. Oh, my kid's waking up. No way, no way. Okay, it's going to have to be over with. So I guess the next thing I'm going to go for is some of the shading in his chin. Okay, I'm guessing maybe... we should go for a 2B? I don't know. Okay, so... just doing a little bit. And then I can blend a little bit with the blending tortilla. It's better almost to go too light instead of too dark. Then, you know, you can push the graphite around a little bit with a blending tortilla, or like me, I'm using I just don't have money right now. But so you can see his chin, right? It's darker on the sides and then white on the inside. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to make it darker. And then what I'm probably going to end up doing is I'm going to go back with the eraser and like erase on his chin a little bit more to make it look more. And I got right here, I got to make it look a little bit darker here too. Yeah, like you can see it's a little bit of a shading there, you know. So let me see here. I'm going to take a B. Sometimes it really is good to just go on the sides, you know, because, I don't know. Okay, speed racing car going by, sorry. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, of course, I'm just going to take the, I'm going to take the Q-tip and I'm going to push the graphite around a little bit more. It shouldn't be like super sharp, you know, it should be blended. It should be like gradual. Like if you look at this shadow here, it's dark at the bottom of his chin and then it gradually gets lighter, you know, so. Okay, so I'm working at it. I feel like his face is coming to life, right? Okay. Okay, so you can see I'm progressing along a lot. Okay. So, I mean, wherever there's a shadow, it's going to be darker. His hands are out front, and they're covering his face. So around here, it's going to be a shadow. It's going to be darker, right? You know, right here, the hair is kind of covering the side of his face. So it's a little bit dark. I need to blend this way better. But, okay, so underneath of his neck, you know, you can see it's a lot darker. That's going to be a shadow. Your face is what's sticking out, and then underneath your neck is normally covered by a shadow. So I'm going to use one of the darker ones. I don't know, should I jump to 6B or should I try to do one of the other ones? Maybe. How about I'll start off with a 4B. And so a lot of this stuff I need to show you. I need both hands, but I'm trying to film at the same time. So, yeah. Anyways. So again, when I'm done, his hand is going to be way lighter. I mean, I'm sure you can see it in the picture. His hand is going to be way lighter because it's like almost at the camera, you know. And then underneath, like this shadow, his neck is a shadow, basically. I mean, it's still his neck, but it's a shadow. So this is going to end up being extremely dark. And then I'm going to blend it in with the blending tortilla, but really it's a Q-tip, you see. And so when there's highlights, you know, when there's little white parts, again, I can always take the eraser, you know, the chin, it's a little bit of white stuff there, you know. His nose, the part that sticks out the most, that's where I'm going to use the eraser there, you know, a little bit there. You know, his forehead, our foreheads are round, right? So this part stands out to the sun a little bit more. So this is going to be lighter, whereas it's going to be a little bit darker here, a little bit darker here. The eraser is really just as good as the pencil. You know, the pencil you can draw stuff on, and then the eraser, you can erase it away. And most of your highlights, a lot of times, are the eraser, you know. So okay, yeah, I'm gonna try to finish that neck. 1, 2, 3, go.
So I'm thinking the key, getting inside Santa's head and figuring out what his next move is to figure out exactly what he would say to me Isn't that pretty? Oh my God.
Right? Okay, so like, hey Mordecai.
Oh my God, you did this.
Oh no, the baby did it. He's like a Mensa level genius prodigy baby.
Oh.
Oh.
I mean. Right? Wow, how did you get him to sit still for this?
Well, she said that you need to find a nice Jewish girl to
I know this. This is pretty. This is pretty. That's my baby.
Relax, Marty. I think your mom's wonderful. So much about you. Listen to this. While you were gone.
Pretty, pretty, pretty. I'm gonna frame this baby and put it up on the wall.
Okay, so last thing I guess would be just to sign it. And also, it was in my notebook, so it has gotten some smudges on it. And one thing you can do to fix that temporarily, you don't want to get it all smudged and everything. What you can do is, I'm trying to erase some of this. It's always so hard to explain while I'm holding the camera at the same time. When you spray hairspray on it, it's a temporary fixative, and it makes it to where it's not going to smudge. Seals it. If you want something more permanent, though, it would probably be better than, to get like a better fixative at an art store. But so, I don't know. Am I going to be able to sign this when I, okay. Guess maybe I should write my real name out. Maybe I shouldn't have done that twice. Okay, it's ready to be wrapped. And this is the last Christmas present.
Yes, I told him that. Yes, I did.
He's a genius.
Yes. My Nana always thought I was a genius. Yes, she did. She knew it. Yes. Look at you. Look at you. Oh, that's so beautiful. It looks just like him. I like the little curl. Your signature curl. That's your signature curl.